My name is Naomi. The night I went into labor was supposed to be the night my life began again. Instead, it became the night my marriage ended. The first contraction hit like a blade through my body. I sat up in bed, clutching my stomach, gasping for air. My hand shot out to shake Daniel awake. "It's time," I cried. "The baby is coming." He stirred, rubbing his face, groggy and annoyed. Then his phone lit up on the nightstand. The name on the screen froze me. Clara. He snatched it before I could say a word. "Yeah," he whispered into the phone. "I'll be there soon. Just hold on." I stared at him in disbelief. Sweat dripped down my forehead as another contraction ripped through me. "Daniel, we need to go to the hospital. Now." He was already pulling on his jeans. "I can't, Naomi. Not yet. She needs me." The pain bent me in half. I screamed into the pillow. "She? Our baby is coming and you're leaving?" He didn't meet my eyes. He grabbed his jacket and keys. "You'll be fine. Call a cab. I'll meet you there." The door slammed. And just like that, the man who vowed to love me in sickness and in health walked out. I lay doubled over, sobbing, clutching my belly, whispering, "Don't do this, Daniel." But he was gone. My fingers shook as I called the only person I could trust. Lena, my best friend. She answered instantly. "Naomi. It's happening," I sobbed. "I can't. He left me." Her voice sharpened. "Stay where you are. I'm on my way." Minutes dragged like hours until she burst through the door. Hair a mess, jacket over pajamas. She half carried me down the stairs, dragging the hospital bag I packed weeks ago. The bag Daniel was supposed to carry. The cab ride blurred into chaos. My body shook with every contraction. Lena pressed my hand to her chest. "Breathe with me. In. Out. He doesn't matter. You're not alone." The hospital was a blaze of lights and rushing voices. Nurses whisked me into a room. Monitors beeped. A mask pressed to my face. I screamed until my throat tore raw. I begged for Daniel between sobs, though I knew he wouldn't come. Lena never left my side. She held my hand through every contraction, whispered strength into my ear, wiped my tears when I thought I couldn't take another wave of pain. "He's nothing," she said firmly. "Look at me. He's nothing. You're stronger than this." Hours bled together. Pain. Sweat. The tearing of my body as if it was splitting open. I thought I would die in that bed. And then at dawn the storm broke. A cry filled the air. The nurse placed a tiny wriggling bundle in my arms. My daughter. My miracle. Tears blurred my vision as I pressed her against my chest. Her heartbeat was fast, fragile, real. In that moment I felt two things at once. The purest love I had ever known. And the deepest betrayal I would never forget. Because he wasn't there. When the door finally creaked open, sunlight slanting across the floor, Daniel walked in. His shirt was rumpled, his eyes bloodshot, the smell of whiskey clinging to him. He looked at me, at the child in my arms, and forced a smile. "Naomi," he whispered hoarsely. "I'm sorry. I panicked. I made a mistake. Let me make it right." I stared at him. Hours of agony had passed without him. My voice was steady, flat. "You'll never make this right." He flinched, reaching toward the baby. "Please." It meant nothing. I was stupid. "I need you." I turned away, pressing my lips to my daughter's soft forehead. My arms tightened protectively around her. "Where were you when I needed you?" I asked quietly. He had no answer. He stood there, guilty, pathetic, smaller than I had ever seen him. As the machines beeped and my newborn whimpered softly, I made a silent vow. This was not the end. It was the beginning of his downfall. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and new life. My daughter slept in the bassinet beside me. Tiny fists curled, chest rising and falling with fragile rhythm. I watched her for hours, afraid to blink, afraid she might vanish if I looked away. Daniel snored in the chair across the room. He had stumbled in hours after everything was over, mumbling apologies I refused to hear. I stared at him now, wondering how a man could sleep so soundly when he had abandoned his wife in labor. The nurse entered softly with a clipboard. "Mrs. Ross, do you want me to wake your husband for discharge instructions?" My chest tightened. "He's not my husband anymore," I whispered. She gave me a look, kind but knowing, and left without pressing. By morning, Lena returned with coffee and a change of clothes. She kissed my daughter's head before she even looked at me. "How are you holding up?" "Barely," I said. My voice cracked. "He left me, Lena. In labor. For her." Her jaw clenched. "I know. And I think you need to see something." She pulled out her phone and slid it across the blanket. My breath stopped. On the screen was a photo of Daniel at a downtown restaurant, sitting across from a woman with dark hair and flawless skin. Clara. Their hands touched across the table. The timestamp read the same night I was screaming in the hospital bed. The world spun. "He wasn't just late," I whispered. "He was with her. While I was. Lena's eyes filled with fire. "She's not just anyone." I did some digging. Clara works at his firm. They've been spotted together for months. I didn't want to believe it until now. I gripped the blanket, knuckles white. So it wasn't panic. It wasn't a mistake. It was planned. Lena nodded slowly. "I think he was with her long before this." My stomach twisted. Images flashed. Late nights at the office, whispered calls he brushed off, the smell of perfume on his shirts. Signs I had ignored, too exhausted from pregnancy to connect. By noon, Daniel shuffled awake, rubbing his eyes like a man hungover from his own lies. He leaned toward me. "Naomi, I know I screwed up, but I was scared. I didn't know how to handle it." I didn't answer. Instead, I pulled out my phone, opened the photo and held it up to his face. While I was screaming in a hospital bed. "You were with her." Color drained from his cheeks. "It's not what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like." My voice was cold steel. "You left me in labor to hold her hand." His lips moved, fumbling for words. "It was dinner. Just dinner. She needed me." I laughed bitterly. "I needed you. Your daughter needed you. And you chose her." He reached for my arm, but I pulled back. "Naomi, please. I'll fix it. I'll leave her. Just don't do this." Lena stepped between us, her voice sharp. "Get out, Daniel." He stared at her, then at me, but I refused to look away from my daughter. Finally, he left, muttering under his breath. The door shut and silence wrapped around us. That evening, as I fed my daughter, I scrolled through Daniel's phone. He had left it behind in his rush. Messages filled the screen. Weeks of late-night texts to Clara. Promises. Plans. "Once the baby is here, she'll be too busy. We'll have more time." My hands shook, but my mind sharpened. This wasn't betrayal born in one night. This was a long game. He had been preparing a life with her while I was carrying his child. When he returned the next day, I was ready. He walked in with flowers, fake contrition in his eyes. "Naomi, I love you. Let's start over." I handed him his phone. "Check your messages. Then say that again." He froze. His eyes flicked over the screen, and I watched guilt carve into his face. "You knew," he whispered. "I know everything," I said. My voice didn't shake. I lifted my daughter into my arms and stared at him. "From now on, Daniel, it's war. And I promise you, I will never lose." The day I came home from the hospital, I walked through the front door with my daughter in my arms and a fire in my chest. The betrayal was no longer a wound. It was fuel. Daniel hovered behind us, carrying the diaper bag, trying to act like nothing had happened. He smiled at neighbors, held the door, even kissed the baby's forehead for show. But the moment we were inside, I turned on him. "Leave," I said. He blinked. "Naomi, get out." My voice was quiet, sharp as glass. "You left me when I needed you most. You lied. You cheated. You don't get to come back like nothing happened." His face twisted. "We can work this out." "No," I said. "I'll work this out. Alone." He stormed out, slamming the door, but I didn't care. I laid my daughter down in her crib, kissed her forehead and whispered, "He'll never hurt us again." That night, while the baby slept, Lena sat with me in the living room, a laptop open between us. "If you want to take him down, we need evidence," she said. I nodded. "Then let's start. First, his phone." He had changed the passcode after I confronted him, but Lena was good with tech. Within an hour, she had bypassed it. What we found inside made my stomach turn. Photos, messages, reservations at hotels. Not just recent, months old. Clara wasn't a new fling. She was a second life. One message burned into my eyes. Once Naomi is tied up with the baby, it'll be easier. She won't even notice. I copied every text, every photo, every timestamp onto a secure drive. Mason, an IT specialist Lena trusted, helped us encrypt the files. Keep this safe, he said. This is leverage. Next, the finances. I pulled out old statements, receipts, credit card bills. Clara's name appeared more than once. Gifts, dinners, trips he had claimed were business. Thousands of dollars gone, spent on her while I carried his child. The deeper I dug, the clearer the pattern became. Transfers into her account labeled as consulting fees. Payments disguised as reimbursements. He wasn't just cheating, he was funneling money to her. Lena leaned back, shaking her head. This is fraud, Naomi. If you take this to a lawyer, he won't just lose you. He'll lose everything. But I wasn't done. I started calling people. Quietly. Carefully. First, his assistant. She hesitated but finally admitted she had covered for him more than once, lying about meetings while he was with Clara. Then a colleague confirmed seeing them together at conferences, acting more like lovers than co-workers. Every word went into my notebook. Dates, times, witnesses. A trail of lies too long for him to deny. At night, when the baby cried, I fed her with one arm and wrote notes with the other. My body was exhausted but my mind stayed sharp. Every detail mattered. One evening I found something that made my blood run cold. A folder buried in his email. Future plans. Inside were messages to Clara about selling the house, splitting assets, moving in together once the baby phase passed. He was building a life without me, and worse, he was building it on my back. I printed everything, stacked the papers in a binder thicker than any textbook. This wasn't just a story of betrayal anymore. It was evidence. Solid. Unshakable. Lena watched me close the binder. Naomi, what are you going to do with all of this? I met her eyes. My voice was steady. I'm going to bury him. Not with anger. With proof. The next morning I made an appointment with a lawyer. Amelia Reed. Family law specialist, sharp reputation. When I walked into her office with the binder, she raised her brows. Most clients show up with suspicions, she said, flipping through the pages. You're showing up with a case. I don't want revenge, I said. I want freedom. And I want to make sure he never takes anything from me or my daughter. Amelia nodded slowly. Then you've come to the right person. With this evidence, you're not just leaving him. You're winning. Her words lit a fire in me I didn't know I had. For the first time since that night, I felt powerful. As I left her office, my phone buzzed with a message from Daniel. We need to talk. Don't do anything stupid, Naomi. Remember, you need me. I looked down at my daughter sleeping in her carrier. Then back at the message. My lips curled into a cold smile. He had no idea how wrong he was. The binder sat heavy in my lap as I drove home from Amelia's office. Page after page of Daniel's betrayal was packed inside. Lies. Payments. Promises to Clara. He had left a trail too messy to erase. That night, when he tried to call again, I ignored it. He sent messages. Don't embarrass yourself. Think of the baby. I'll forgive you if you stop this now. I didn't reply. Silence was more powerful than anger. Lena came over after sunset, arms full of groceries and coffee. She walked into the kitchen like she lived there. Feed the baby. I'll handle dinner. And then we'll plan. Over steaming mugs, I laid out what Amelia had said. Lena listened, nodding, her jaw tight. She's right. You have a case. But Daniel isn't stupid. He'll fight back. You'll need more than one lawyer. You'll need protection. The word hung in the air. Protection. I thought of the photo left on my doorstep, the feeling of being watched. Daniel wasn't violent, but Clara? I didn't know what she was capable of. The next day, Amelia called me back to her office. This time she wasn't alone. A tall man in a gray suit introduced himself. Mason Grant. Private investigator. Amelia thought you might need my help. His handshake was firm, his eyes sharp. He opened a folder and slid a few photos across the table. My stomach turned. Daniel and Clara, leaving a hotel together. Daniel handing her an envelope. Clara logging into what looked like Daniel's office computer after hours. I looked up, stunned. You already started? Mason nodded. I don't waste time. Amelia told me this man walked out on you in labor. That was enough for me. Amelia smiled faintly. Naomi, Mason's been working cases like this for years. He's discreet and he doesn't miss details. I flipped through the photos, my breath catching. This is everything. It's the beginning, Mason said. I'll pull phone records, track financial leaks. If Clara's mixed into his business, we'll find it. If Daniel's planning something bigger, we'll catch it before he moves. I felt stronger with every word. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't fighting alone. That night, Lena and I sat in the nursery. My daughter slept peacefully, unaware of the storm outside. Lena whispered, "You're doing this for her. Don't forget that." "I won't," I said. "She's my reason. She's why I'll win." Days blurred into strategy sessions. Amelia drafted filings to protect my assets. Mason dug deeper, pulling Clara's financials and tracing connections to Daniel's accounts. Lena kept me sane, watching the baby when I needed to read or rest. But Daniel wasn't staying quiet. One afternoon, a thick envelope arrived in the mail. Inside was a letter from his lawyer, filled with demands: joint custody, spousal support, division of assets. He wanted everything. I brought it straight to Amelia. She read it once, then ripped it in half. Posturing. He's trying to scare you. But with the evidence we have, he doesn't stand a chance. Still, fear not at me. Daniel had resources, connections, arrogance. He would fight dirty. Later that week, Mason arrived with a flash drive. You'll want to see this. He loaded it onto Amelia's computer. On the screen appeared a video, grainy, recorded from a phone. Daniel and Clara sat at a bar. His hand was on her knee. Their voices were low but clear enough. Daniel: once Naomi's tied up with the baby, I'll file. She'll be too exhausted to fight. You'll move in. We'll take the house, the accounts, everything. Clara: and if she resists? Daniel, laughing, she won't. She can't. She's weak. I gripped the edge of the desk so hard my knuckles went white. Weak. He thought I was weak. Amelia paused the video. Naomi, this is gold. Not only is he planning financial fraud, he's admitting intent. Judges love intent. He just buried himself. I nodded slowly. Then let's make sure the whole world hears it. Mason leaned back in his chair. Careful. Play this too early and he'll wriggle out. Play it at the right moment and you'll crush him. That night I lay awake, listening to my daughter's soft breathing. Every beat of her heart echoed my promise. Daniel thought he could erase me. Instead, I would erase the version of him who thought he could win. As I finally drifted toward sleep, my phone buzzed with another unknown message. This time it wasn't Daniel. It was Clara. Stop digging, Naomi. Or I'll make sure your daughter grows up without a father. Or a mother. Clara's message burned in my mind all night. Stop digging, Naomi. Or I'll make sure your daughter grows up without a father. Or a mother. I sat in the nursery rocking my child, staring at the phone. My first instinct was fear. But fear didn't last. It hardened into fury. If Clara thought threats would silence me, she hadn't realized who I had become. By morning, I was in Amelia's office again, binder in hand. Lena sat beside me, my rock. Mason leaned against the wall, arms folded. Amelia looked at me across the table. Tell us. I held up my phone, the message on screen. She threatened me. Directly. This isn't just an affair. It's a conspiracy. They're planning to strip me of everything. And now they think they can scare me into surrender. Amelia's eyes narrowed. That was a mistake on her part. Threats cross a line. With this, we can not only push for custody but also bring harassment charges. The court will not be kind. Mason's tone was harder. I've seen Clara's type. She's not bluffing. But if she plays dirty, so can we, legally. We need to move fast. Hit them before they realize how much evidence we have. I leaned forward, my voice steady. Then let's build the plan. No more waiting. No more reacting. I want him exposed in front of everyone he respects. Amelia spread the documents across the table. Here's what we'll do. First, we file for divorce. We lead with abandonment during labor, which no judge will ignore. Second, we attach financial evidence, payments to Clara, fraudulent transfers. Third, we include the video confession Mason obtained. That alone could sink him. Mason added. And I'll keep digging. If Clara's tied to his office access, she's already guilty of corporate tampering. One more nail in the coffin. Lena looked at me, fire in her eyes. And the reveal? I met her gaze. We time it for the gala. Daniel loves public appearances. He'll expect me to stay quiet, humiliated. Instead, I'll stand in front of his allies, his clients, his family, and show them exactly who he is. The room went silent for a beat. Then Amelia nodded. It's risky, but if you pull it off, it ends him completely. No credibility, no leverage, nothing left. We spent hours perfecting it. Amelia would file motions to freeze certain accounts, ensuring Daniel couldn't drain them before trial. Mason would prepare a presentation of the evidence, documents, texts, the bar video. Lena would help me rehearse every word until my voice carried steel. That night, back at home, Lena stayed while I fed the baby. Are you sure you want it public? She asked softly. Yes, I said. Private battles can be buried. Public ones leave scars he'll never heal from. She nodded slowly. Then you need to be ready. When you stand there, he'll attack. He'll scream. He'll try to twist it. You can't flinch. I won't, I whispered. The days blurred into preparation. Mason delivered more. Emails between Daniel and Clara, laughing about my exhaustion, mocking my trust. Receipts from jewelry stores, hotels, even a weekend getaway they shared while I was in my third trimester. Every piece went into the arsenal. Every page was another weapon. Finally, Amelia laid the binder shut. We have enough to end him 3 times over. But timing is everything. We can't show our hand too soon. We wait until he steps onto that stage. I thought about the threats, the betrayal, the pain of that night in the hospital. He abandoned me when I was at my weakest. I'll expose him when he thinks he's at his strongest. The night before the gala, I sat in the nursery again, rocking my daughter. Her tiny hand curled around my finger. I promise you, I whispered, you'll never grow up thinking men like him win. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. My pulse jumped as I opened it. A photo appeared, Daniel smiling at Clara, his arm around her shoulders. The caption read, "Tomorrow we take everything." I stared at the screen, then at my daughter sleeping soundly. Tomorrow was the battlefield, and I was ready to burn his world down. The night of the gala arrived like a storm on the horizon. My daughter was asleep at Lena's house, safe, far from the chaos I was about to unleash. I stood in front of the mirror, fastening the black dress Amelia had chosen. Powerful, she had said. Not flashy. Not weak. You walk in like you own the room. I didn't feel powerful. My stomach churned with nerves. But every time doubt crept in, I pictured Daniel walking out that night while I screamed in labor. The anger steadied me like iron. Amelia picked me up at 7 sharp. In the back seat, Mason adjusted his laptop bag, cables sticking out. Presentation is locked. Backup copies everywhere. Even if they cut the power, I can show it. Good, I said. Because they'll try something. We arrived at the hall just before 8. Chandeliers glowed through tall windows, laughter spilling out into the night. Expensive cars lined the street. Daniel's world, glamour, ego, pretense. Tonight it would become his graveyard. Inside, the air hummed with chatter and music. Waiters weaved through the crowd with trays of champagne. Investors, clients, and family filled the room. And then I saw him. Daniel entered from the far side, Clara on his arm. She wore a white dress that shimmered under the lights like a cruel parody of a wedding gown. He smirked when he spotted me, as if daring me to challenge him. Amelia leaned close. Don't let him set the pace. We control this. But then before we could move, the lights flickered. The sound system crackled. And suddenly Daniel was on stage, microphone in hand. Ladies and gentlemen, he began smoothly. Thank you for joining us tonight. This event is about celebrating success, family, and the future. And I'm proud to say I've found both with Clara. Gasps rippled through the room. Some clapped, others exchanged uneasy glances. He basked in it, hand resting on Clara's back. Naomi has struggled, he continued, feigning sympathy. Motherhood is hard. Leadership is harder. But I believe in building forward. Clara and I will take the reins. Together. I froze. This wasn't supposed to happen yet. He was moving early, seizing the stage before I could. My plan depended on timing, catching him at the height of arrogance. Now he was dictating the terms. Mason cursed under his breath. He's forcing us to reveal now. If we wait, his narrative sticks. Amelia's jaw clenched. Naomi, it's your call. Do we strike early, or hold until the end? I swallowed hard. My pulse hammered in my ears. Around us, cameras flashed, phones recorded. Daniel was painting me as weak, unstable, finished. Every second of silence cemented his version of the story. I stepped forward, heels clicking against the marble floor. My voice cut through the chatter. That's a lie. Heads turned. The room hushed. Daniel's smile faltered. Clara's hand tightened on his arm. This company, I said clearly, was never yours. And tonight the truth will be shown. Mason's fingers flew across his laptop. The projector hummed, the screen flickered. Then went black. Gasps. Confusion. Daniel laughed into the microphone. See? She's desperate. She has nothing. Mason cursed again. They hacked it. I can reroute, but I need time. Amelia gripped my arm. Naomi, stall. Keep them listening. If you panic, he wins. Daniel spread his arms, voice dripping with false pity. She's lost. It's sad, really. Motherhood broke her. But don't worry, Naomi. We'll take care of everything. My fists clenched. I wanted to scream, to lunge at him, to expose him right there. But Mason was working behind me, fingers flying. Every second mattered. I straightened my shoulders, raised my chin, and said, You think you've won. You think I'm weak. But you'll regret underestimating me. Because I have proof. And when it shows, every single person here will know who you really are. The crowd shifted uneasily, whispers rising. Phones still recorded. Daniel's smile wavered. He didn't like a fight he couldn't script. Behind me, Mason whispered. Almost there. 30 seconds. I locked eyes with Daniel. Enjoy your stage, Daniel. Because when the lights come back, it will be your execution ground. The screen flickered again, Mason muttering a prayer under his breath. Then, just as Daniel opened his mouth to gloat, a single image burst onto the screen. Daniel's own face, caught on video, laughing about how I was too weak to fight. The room gasped. The gasp from the audience hung in the air like thunder. On the screen, Daniel's smirking face filled the hall. His voice echoed through the speakers, crystal clear. Once Naomi is tied up with the baby, I'll file. She'll be too exhausted to fight. Clara will move in. We'll take the house, the accounts, everything. She's weak. She won't stop us. Silence. Then murmurs. Heads turned toward Daniel. His smirk faltered. Shut it off, he barked, spinning toward the booth. But Mason only smirked, tapping his laptop. You wanted a show, he muttered. Here it is. The video rolled on. Another clip. Daniel sliding an envelope across a table to Clara. His voice. Consulting fees. No one will question it. Gasps grew louder. One investor in the crowd shook his head, whispering, Fraud. That's fraud. Daniel lunged for the microphone. This is fake. She doctored this. She's unstable. I stepped forward, my heels striking the floor like hammers. My voice cut him off. Fake? Then explain the bank statements. The transfers into Clara's account disguised as fees. The hotel receipts, the jewelry, the getaways. Mason clicked, and the screen changed. Rows of numbers filled the projection. Daniel's bank activity, side by side with Clara's deposits. Perfect matches. A woman in the front row gasped aloud. You funded her with company money? Daniel's face turned red. Clara tugged at his sleeve. Stop talking, she hissed. But the microphones caught her voice. The crowd erupted. Whispers, curses, phones held high, recording every second. I raised my voice above the noise. The night I went into labor, my husband left me alone to run to her. While I screamed in a hospital bed, he held her hand at a restaurant. And now he wants to claim I'm unfit? He wants to take my home? My child? The room froze. Mothers in the audience gasped. Even the investors, hardened by business and money, looked appalled. Amelia rose from her seat, her voice ringing out. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't a family dispute. This is fraud, abandonment, and harassment. The evidence you've seen tonight will be filed in court tomorrow morning. Daniel shouted. You can't do this. I'll destroy you, Naomi. I turned slowly to face him. For once I wasn't trembling. My voice was cold and sharp. You already tried. And you failed. The projector switched again. This time, footage from the bar Mason had recorded. Daniel's laugh echoed across the hall. She won't fight. She's weak. She always was. The crowd's reaction was immediate. Boos. Shouts. One man stood up and spat on the floor in disgust. You're finished, Ross. Clara tried to step back, but someone shouted. She's in on it too. All eyes turned on her. Panic flashed across her face. Security moved in as Daniel tried to shove past me. His face twisted with rage. This isn't over, he screamed. I didn't move. I stood tall, hands steady on the folder in front of me. Yes, Daniel. It is. The guards blocked him. The crowd surged, investors demanding explanations, donors whispering about pulling out. The perfect stage he had built for his ego was crumbling beneath him. For one moment the noise faded. I looked into the cameras flashing around us, my voice firm. He left me when I was at my weakest. Tonight I showed him what strength really looks like. The applause started small, then swelled until it filled the hall. Not for the scandal. Not for the show. For the truth. Daniel broke free of the guards just long enough to hurl his final words at me. You think you've won, Naomi. But tomorrow in court I'll bury you. The room fell silent again. And for the first time I almost believed him. The gala didn't end when the lights dimmed and the projector shut off. It exploded. Voices rose like a storm. Investors shouted. Guests shoved for the exits. Reporters rushed forward, cameras flashing, microphones shoved into my face. Naomi, is it true he abandoned you during labor? Do you have custody papers filed? Will you press charges against Clara? I didn't answer. Not yet. Every word would be twisted if I spoke in that chaos. Instead, I lifted my chin and walked off the stage, Amelia and Mason flanking me like bodyguards. Lena trailed close behind, carrying my bag, her eyes darting nervously around the room. Daniel tried to push after us, but two security guards blocked him. His voice rang out over the crowd. She's lying. All of it. Don't believe her. But no one was listening. Phones were already uploading the video Mason had projected. By the time Daniel reached the exit, hashtags were trending online. Hashtag Ross exposed and hashtag Naomi speaks. In the lobby, a swarm of reporters cornered me. Flashes blinded me. Naomi, what's next? Divorce? Court? Are you afraid? Amelia stepped in. No more questions tonight. Statements will be issued tomorrow. She ushered me toward the car waiting outside. The moment we slid in, I let out a shaky breath. My hands trembled, not from fear but from adrenaline. Mason was already typing furiously on his laptop. It's everywhere, he said. Clips, screenshots, quotes. He can't bury it. Even if he tries to sue every platform, it's out. Lena grabbed my hand. You did it. You actually did it. But Amelia's expression stayed hard. We're not finished. He'll be in court tomorrow. He'll come with everything he has left. Tonight we won the crowd. Tomorrow we need to win the judge. The car sped through the city. Outside, neon lights blurred by. My phone buzzed nonstop, calls, messages, notifications. Some were supportive. Others vicious. Strangers I had never met were choosing sides in my war. When we pulled up to my house, my stomach clenched. The front door was ajar. Mason was out first, scanning the porch, his hand raised to stop me. He slipped inside, silent as a shadow. A moment later his voice called, "Clear. But someone's been here." I stepped into the living room. Papers were scattered across the floor. My daughter's toy basket overturned. On the wall above the crib in the adjoining room, written in thick black marker, were 4 words. "You should have quit." Lena gasped. I clutched the doorway, my heart hammering. "She was here," I whispered. "Clara." Amelia snapped photos with her phone. "This is harassment. Evidence." We reported immediately. Mason crouched, pointing at the corner of the window frame. A small black device blinked once, then died. "Hidden camera. She planted it. They were watching you." I felt bile rise in my throat. Watching me. Watching my child. We file charges, Amelia said firmly. This crosses into criminal territory. Stalking. Endangerment. I nodded, holding back tears. Fear clawed at me, but beneath it was fire. They wanted me rattled. They wanted me broken. I wouldn't give them that satisfaction. That night, Lena stayed in the guest room with the baby while Mason swept the house for more devices. Amelia drafted emergency filings. I sat in the nursery rocking my daughter, whispering, "No one will take you from me. No one." At 2 a.m, Mason knocked softly on the door. All clear for now. But Naomi, they're desperate. Desperate people are dangerous. I looked down at my sleeping daughter, then back at him. Let them come. I'm ready. Morning came too quickly. Reporters were already outside the courthouse before dawn. Cameras pointed at the steps. The headlines had doubled overnight. Wife reveals shocking video. CEO caught funding mistress with company money. Gala turns into public scandal. Amelia straightened her blazer as we walked toward the entrance. Remember, Naomi. Tonight was theater. Today is war. Hold steady. Don't let him bait you. Inside, Daniel was already waiting. Clara sat beside him, pale, her eyes ringed with sleeplessness. For once, she didn't look like the smug mistress. She looked scared. Daniel, however, forced a smile as I entered. He leaned toward me, his voice low but clear enough for the microphones nearby. You think you humiliated me. Today, Naomi, I take it all back. I met his eyes, my jaw steady. No, Daniel. Today you lose everything. The judge entered the courtroom, his gavel striking once. This hearing will decide custody, ownership, and assets. All evidence will be heard. The room fell silent. The final battle was about to begin. The courthouse buzzed with tension. Reporters filled the steps, cameras flashing as soon as I appeared with Amelia, Mason, and Lena. My daughter stayed home, safe with a sitter. I couldn't bring her into this battlefield. Inside, the courtroom smelled of wood polish and old paper. Daniel sat at the opposite table, his lawyer whispering frantically in his ear. Clara perched beside him, pale, her eyes darting toward every camera in the room. She wasn't the confident mistress from before. She looked cornered. The judge entered. This hearing will decide interim custody, financial control, and protective orders. All parties will present their evidence. Begin. Daniel's lawyer rose first, all pomp and performance. Your Honor, my client has been painted as a monster by his estranged wife. But what she calls abandonment was a misunderstanding. He loves his child. He supports his family. These videos she waves around are manipulated. She is emotional, unstable, and driven by vengeance. Daniel nodded, playing the role of the victim. His voice cracked on cue. I admit I made mistakes, Your Honor. But I was overwhelmed. I was scared. I've tried to make amends. Naomi won't hear me. The judge listened without expression. Then Amelia stood. Calm. Measured. Her words cut like blades. Your Honor, let us not waste time with theatrics. We have evidence, clear, irrefutable, time-stamped. She nodded at Mason. He connected his laptop to the court system. The first video played. Daniel's voice bragging about abandoning me during labor, laughing with Clara about how I was too weak to fight. Gasps rippled through the gallery. The judge's brow furrowed. Next, the bank statements. Transfers disguised as consulting fees. Payments into Clara's accounts. Receipts for jewelry and hotels. A paper trail so precise it looked like he had signed his own warrant. Then the footage of Clara in the office after hours, tampering with files. Mason paused the video. Keycard logs confirmed this was her. She accessed systems she had no clearance for. This is corporate theft. Clara shrank in her seat, whispering furiously to Daniel. His lawyer objected, sputtering, but the judge silenced him. The evidence will stand. Finally, Amelia placed a folder on the judge's desk. And here is sworn testimony from Naomi's attending physician and 2 nurses who confirmed Daniel abandoned her during active labor. She delivered their child alone, with only a friend by her side. The judge's face hardened. He turned to Daniel. Do you deny this? Daniel's mask slipped. His voice rose. She's lying. They're all lying. I had reasons. The judge's gavel cracked once. "Sit down, Mr. Ross." Silence fell. Amelia closed her binder. "Your Honor, this is not a case of marital conflict. This is a pattern of betrayal, financial misconduct, and endangerment. Naomi Ross deserves full custody, sole control of assets, and protection from further harassment." The judge leaned back, steepling his fingers. For a long moment he said nothing. The room felt like it held its breath. Then his voice cut clean. "This court finds in favor of Naomi Ross. Effective immediately, she is granted sole physical custody of the child. Mr. Ross will have supervised visitation pending review. Financial control of all marital accounts will rest with Mrs. Ross until final division. Restraining orders are issued against both Mr. Ross and Miss Clark due to evidence of harassment and threats." Gasps. Murmurs. Reporters scribbling furiously. Clara covered her face with her hands. Daniel slammed his fist against the table. "This isn't justice. This is a setup." The judge's gavel struck again. "Court is adjourned." It was over. I stood, legs trembling but steady enough to walk out without looking back. Reporters surged toward me as the bailiffs held Daniel in place. He shouted after me, his voice cracking. "Naomi, you can't do this to me. You need me." I didn't turn around. For once I didn't need to answer. The judge already had. Outside, the cameras blinded me again. Questions flew like arrows. "How do you feel, Naomi? What's next? Do you forgive him?" I paused on the steps, Amelia and Lena at my sides, Mason just behind. I raised my chin. "I feel free. That's all." The words traveled faster than any scream Daniel had hurled at me. By evening they were headlines. By night they were viral. That evening, back at home, I held my daughter close in the nursery. The air was quiet, the house finally ours. No threats on the wall. No shadows in the corners. Just peace. I whispered to her. "We won." My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A new message from an unknown number. Just 2 words. "Not finished." The message glowed on my phone screen. Not finished. For a moment fear curled in my stomach. But it didn't last. I had seen Daniel stripped of everything that gave him power, money, reputation, access. His threats were nothing more than echoes of a man who had already lost. I set the phone aside, picked up my daughter, and pressed my lips to her forehead. "He's finished," I whispered. "We're free." The weeks that followed proved it. Daniel tried to appeal, but the evidence crushed him every time. His lawyer dropped him. Investors cut ties. Clara disappeared from the city. Her name a stain no one wanted to touch. I focused on my daughter. Morning feedings. Sleepless nights. Quiet walks in the park. For the first time in months, I lived without the weight of betrayal pressing on my chest. The silence of peace was strange but beautiful. One evening, Amelia stopped by with paperwork. "It's official," she said, handing me the final decree. "Full custody. Sole ownership of your assets. He's legally barred from contacting you." I signed the papers with steady hands. No hesitation. No regret. When Amelia left, Lena poured us 2 glasses of wine. We clinked them together in the living room, my daughter sleeping nearby. "To freedom," Lena said. "To strength," I replied. But in my heart I knew it was more than that. It was survival. It was proof that even in my weakest moment, abandoned, screaming in labor, I hadn't been defeated. I had risen. A month later, I drove past the courthouse where it had all ended. Reporters were gone. The building stood quiet, like it had never witnessed the war inside. But I remembered. Every word. Every look. Every moment I refused to break. And I made myself a promise. My daughter would never grow up doubting her worth. She would never mistake cruelty for love, or weakness for strength. She would know what her mother had done, not just for herself but for her. That night, as I tucked her into bed, I whispered, "We don't bow to betrayal. We don't crumble when abandoned. We rise. Always." I stood by the window looking out at the dark city, lights flickering like stars. Daniel was gone from my life, but the lesson he left behind would never fade. Final words to the audience. If you've ever been told you're too weak, too small, or too broken to fight back, remember this. They only win if you let them. Silence can be strength. Patience can be power. And revenge doesn't always mean destruction. It means taking back what was yours all along. I was Naomi. He left me alone in labor, thinking I'd never recover. Instead, I ended him with the truth. And if you're listening to this, don't ever let anyone erase your worth. If this story struck a chord with you, share it. Subscribe for more stories of betrayal turned into justice. And never forget, no matter who tries to break you, you can always rise stronger.